Hi, and welcome to our presentation on preparing to succeed in the qualifying exam. I'm Adrienne Jenkins, and I'm an assistant professor in the department specializing in composition pedagogy and teacher development.
I'm Jamie Goodrich, and I'm an associate professor of English specializing in early modern literature. In this video, we will present suggestions and guidelines for successfully approaching the written and oral qualifying exams.
The purpose of the written exam is to provide you with an opportunity to show, in writing, what you understand about the literature and scholarly conversations you are entering, and to present your position in those conversations. The image on this slide represents the conversations, connections, and positions you will be asked to identify and take up in the exam process.
The exam questions will set the stage for not only the topics you should write about, but also how you should approach writing them. For example, an exam question might ask you to trace a genre or scholarly conversation from one point in history to another. Or a question might ask you to identify scholarly counterarguments or alternatives to an established theory or methodological approach in the field. The questions will thus guide the organization of your response, if not also directing you to include certain texts in your discussion.
You will use the readings on your list to craft your response to the question in such a way that demonstrates your position. Which scholarly perspectives do yours align with? How do you put in conversation sources with each other to construct your claim? These are questions you might think about while you select texts to include in your response. Remember that you have created notes throughout the process of studying for your exams that can help you identify fairly quickly which texts should be included in your response.
Make sure you understand fully what the question is asking you to do before you begin writing. Annotate the question to identify the discrete tasks embedded in the prompt. Understand the explicit directions in the prompt and read for clues that can help you contextualize your response.
Once you've annotated the question, jot down a list of key points you want to address in the essay. Craft a thesis or claim to focus your writing, and revisit this sentence once you've completed a draft of the essay to revise as needed. Craft an outline of the essay's structure to make sure you actually answer the question and stick to your argument.
As you develop your draft, compose focused paragraphs that help you respond to the prompt and support your claim. Transitions and topic sentences serve an important function by helping both you and your readers track your ideas. Synthesis sentences at the end of body paragraphs act like mini conclusions to help you advance your argument more clearly.
It is valuable to make a plan for how you will use your time writing the essay. Save at least 10 to 20 minutes at the end of your time to read over your response. Once again, make sure that in your essay, you actually respond to the prompt and check the argument you make against your thesis.
As you revise, identify and develop points that require more analysis or explanation of the literature. Avoid letting quotes do too much work on their own. Make sure you have contextualized and or appropriately analyzed any quoted passages. At the end of your essay, develop any needed summative or concluding thoughts.
There is a bit of time between when you will finish the written exam and attend the oral examination. It's important during this time period that you try not to obsess over your written performance. There is always room for improvement, and your committee understands the nature of composing under constrained testing conditions.
Listen carefully to any feedback your advisor passes along about your performance on the written exam, and use that feedback to prepare for the oral exam, especially by thinking about how you might talk about ways to further develop your written answers.
Prepare to have a conversation during the oral exam. The exam is an opportunity for you to demonstrate your depth and breadth of knowledge about the literature and scholarship on your list. The oral exam is an opportunity for your exam committee to ask you questions about your written responses or other areas of your reading list.
Generally, the committee will ask you 2 rounds of questions with follow-up questions during the oral exam. Each committee member will ask you at least 1 question about your written responses and/or other questions about the other literature on your lists.
The written exam responses will serve as the basis for starting the conversation in your oral exam. You may be asked to give a statement explaining how you would revise your written essays or how you would elaborate on the argument you present in the essays.
You may be asked to talk about texts on your list that you did not draw from in your responses, but might have. Or you may also be asked to talk about how you would have approached the questions you did not respond to in the written exam. In the case of a strong written performance, the committee may use the oral exam as an opportunity to ask you questions that allow you to talk about other texts on your list. After conversation, the committee will briefly excuse you to have a discussion about your performance and their assessment of your readiness for the next stages of scholarly professional work, and then will provide you with feedback.
The conclusion of the qualifying exam process can feel different for everyone, but we want to offer some thoughts for what we hope you will take away from the process. While preparing for your exams, you have mastered a major body of primary and secondary texts that will serve as the basis for your future career and inform both your research and teaching. You will have a better sense of the scholarly conversations in the field and how your work can fit into them.
Short term, your committee may have suggestions for you about how to direct your reading as you move into the prospective stage of your graduate study. You have developed a note-taking strategy that you may continue to use or refine as you prepare to work on your dissertation. And you may have identified mentoring relationships with members of your committee or your peers that you wish to cultivate further.